I tell you what, I have fallen many times, but of late I have faced a trial I've yet to face. I marched in fire, I stood tall with your help, but on this
Another week is starting, guys. Frying up my bacon. Chickens are growing up here, getting bigger. Pretty soon they'll try to be out in the big pen. Guys, I am in Wilmington today. Have a few small jobs to do. Have a change out tomorrow. Changing out a Vortex coil and a heat pump in Castle Hayne, North Carolina. Then I will also be switching out the other Vortex coil at this house too. There's two different electric furnaces with coils. The other coil is just kind of roached out. We need to switch it out. But for today, I'm doing a little bit of duct work and maybe go get the permit. Probably not, because the permit office, unless you go there first thing in the morning, is like a zoo you can never escape from. But I do have to, I might go by that house too to rip out the old equipment. We'll see how it goes, but for sure I'm doing some duct work, and Tommy's off at the doctor today. He had a few appointments to go to today, so I'm using this time to take care of some other business that I don't need him for, which is good because I don't really need him every single day. But we have a few jobs coming up where he's going to be indispensable, especially our ductwork change out, because you guys know how I love ductwork. So, but I'm heading over to Michael to pick up a couple supplies. I had most of the stuff at my shop, but I need a couple more items and we can get down to business. I'm in the office, or future office here, and up there, you can't really see it, but I poked up a nail and I plotted things out so I can make a scuttle hole, or I can add a boot right over here in the middle somewhere. As close to the middle as possible. It's gonna come right off the end of the trunk so we get good airflow out here with a damper on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up this scuttle hole by measuring off the end wall, setting out points that I've outlined in the attic, and cutting back to a joist which is right along this wall, and then coming out to the next one which is right on the inside of this wire here. So cut everything out without destroying any wiring. That's the plan. What I'm doing right now is I'm laying out the edges of my new scuttle hole. I had to make an access. There is an access at the other end of this attic, but you had to climb across like 5 or 6 different runouts, and there's a couple, because the attic is so small that every time I climb across them I about rip them off of the trunk. So he wanted a new access, and I agreed that it was a great idea. So I am here I'm plotting out something about 24 by 22, because there's engineered trusses, and a lot of those are on 24-inch centers. So you get about 22.5 inches in between them. I am using the Ryobi battery-powered Sawzall to make my cuts. I use this Sawzall a lot of the time because it's so portable. I mean, I don't do a whole lot of cutting because I don't do new construction houses, so when I'm using it, I'm usually using it in a small capacity, so it's perfect. And of course, cutting drywall is pretty easy, so it goes pretty fast. It's not like cutting through a whole bunch of wood. I have a nail driven down. There's my scuttle hole over here. I climbed up there and plotted out where this would be centered on this garage apparatus, and I have a scribe line. I'm going to cut that out, and we got our boot ready, put it in there, and fasten the grill to it. And we should be well on our way to getting this thing wrapped up. As you can see, I'm using a different kind of insulation. I use Reflectix on these small jobs like this. I just wrap them with Reflectix. It's nothing major. It's easy to use. You don't have the fiber, so I prefer to use it. It is R4, but it's just a little, garage job, so it's not going to make much of a difference, and it's just a hell of a lot easier to use. This boot is a 6 by 10 by 8, and I'm going to run this little piece all the way back to the end cap on the trunk and put a damper on it so it gets a tremendous amount of air. I have my 8-inch duct hooked onto the boot. It had the elbow on there just to give it a nice smooth bend. You can see on the inside, it gives a nice smooth bend down in there. This is a plaster frame. This will sit up against the ceiling, and the grill will screw through here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hoist it up into the attic, and maybe I can go ahead and get that grill on. It's a little interesting when you're doing it by yourself, because typically when I do this in a retrofit, some guy's pushing down on the top and the grill screwed in from this side. So, but I'll have to adapt and overcome I got my outlet put up. What I did was I took that outlet out and I kind of held the boot flange with my fingers on the inside like this and screwed some pilot holes up on either side. Then I could fit it up, so it worked out okay. So I'm gonna go back up in the attic and see if that duct, which was a little short, if I can make it reach, because we need to make it happen. I'm up in the attic now. I took the old end cap, but I got an 8-inch run coming right off the end of it to give us some nice airflow over there to our boot. So we should get probably about 150 CFM of air just because of where it's located. Typically on an 8 I put in about 120. I think we can get up to about 150 off of this one. That's just my gut feeling, of course, not a measurement. So it should get that real nice and cool, and hopefully it works very well, and everybody will be happy. There's my run coming off the end. Coming over to my boot right there. They need to insulate that ceiling, because it used to be a garage. So I'm all done here. I'm gonna go turn the fan on and see what kind of airflow we got coming out of it, and hopefully we're good, and I'll be on my way. I hear our fan taking off. All right, let's go check out that outlet. You guys can hear the air. It's getting a ton of air out of it just because it's on that end cap. So I'm gonna shut it off right there just until they get done with this room. They can turn it on whenever they're working in here. It is Wednesday morning now. I have to go start a job setting a heat pump and Mortex coil and another Mortex coil at the same house where it's just kind of roached out. So I'm gonna get started there. Gotta drive to Wilmington, go to Ari Michael, pick up that stuff. It's gonna be a Heil with the Mortex coil. I'm gonna meet Tommy at Ari Michael, and we're gonna head over there and get started on that job. It rained pretty heavy last night. We had some thunderstorms come through, but I do believe we're gonna be in the clear today. We shall see. We have our Mortex coil. This one, and how do you tell this one is 410A and not R22?
Look at it. Yeah.
You have to look at the expansion valve. At the top of the valve here, this is called the power head. Look at there, you'll see it's either going to be pink or green.
This one's pink. So
Pink's 410A. All right, we'll have that insulation underneath there. We're going to wrap around here. You remember that?
I do remember that.
And then we can get the other one ready the exact same way while I'm taking the outdoor unit off. Electric furnace, Intertherm, like all the other ones. Here's another company you can call if you're in Wilmington. AC Cycle. We're going to take this off. The other one's going to go off too. We'll take a look at that one. Go through the modular here, just like a lot of the foreclosed homes. Kind of beat up a little bit, but there's no fist holes in this one, which is nice. Yep, open sesame. There's our other coil. Looks like hell on the side. We're taking it off too and replacing it. That's just a service aspect. We're not replacing the outdoor unit on this one. Got my new pad down. Disconnect the old heat pump. Cut off the lines. Cut off the old dryer too. Got it sitting down here. You can reconnect to that stuff. I got it taped up now so it won't get any debris in it. Make sure I don't encroach too far on this main panel. Got to stay out of the way of it at least 3 feet, which is going to put us somewhere out in this region. So I'm just going to stay tucked in a little bit closer to that other heat pump normally. More so than I normally would. Just I want to stay away from the electrical access. The new Heil sitting in place. I'm going to get some pump ups to put underneath it. And then get my pad back over here for comfy work. Blow out the line set and get started fitting it up. I'm fitting up the copper now to the unit. We are going to flow nitrogen. I just get all my copper ready. Make sure before I install every piece, I do a little bit of cleaning it off. You can see me right there cleaning it off with sandpaper. Make sure the solder takes really well, or brazing rod I'll say. This is the Hillmore Swager. I'm enlarging the pipe so I can fit them together. It works very well. As you can see, it makes short work of that without having to use any fittings. I am letting all the nitrogen off of the coil so I can get ready to braze it up and fit up all the copper. There's a look at the pipe and the little drain tubing that they give you with the coil going down. There's our TXV with the R410A coloring on it, so we're ready to go. Pulling a vacuum now. We just started a second ago. Old JB. The sky's starting to look a little angry, so I'm glad we're about done for today. After this, we may work a little bit with the other unit, but we may not just because it looks like it's about to rain. My field piece was dying, so I went ahead and grabbed the testo. I'm gonna open these valves back up. It's gonna raise our micron level back up. Now I'm gonna let it roll for a little while and see where we get to. I am heading back up to my house so I can grab the Prius and go pick up the kids from school. I let Tommy off to wait for his, I don't know, common law wife, or I don't know, not really a wife, but they've been together for a while, that sort of thing. So we got that unit set, got the vacuum pulled, released the refrigerant. The electricians are hopefully come by tomorrow morning and wire it up. I mean, I guess I could have wired it up, but they need to bring another breaker. The 35 is technically too large. They need a 30. And I had to go into R.E. Michael in the morning. I was supposed to go into R.E. Michael and do a service call, a pull and clean on their evaporator, but I might try to move that to Friday, see what I can do. I'm supposed to also hear about that inverter job today, so I'm waiting on that. I've been texting back and forth with one of the property owners that owns a lot of rental properties that I service. A lot of the trailers that you guys see me work on, this particular people, they manage those properties, and they're evidently getting into a whole lot more properties, which is good for me, more service work. God bless service work. So, but I'm calling it a day. Be back at it tomorrow. Got to get the permit tomorrow morning. Oops, I started the job before I got the permit. Oops. Oh well. May the Lord forgive me. Guys, I was sleeping last night and I woke up in the middle of the night. For some reason, I had this really odd thought. The last video and a lot of my videos center around family time, making the best of your family life and your work life, and trying to balance the struggle in between the two of them. But I woke up last night and I was kind of, I don't know, it wasn't a nightmare, but I had a really bad thought in my head that all this stress in life and in business, it changes who you are. It changes how do you react to regular everyday situations. And I had this sort of premonition of 10, 20 years from now when my kids were long gone about having wasted so much time with them because I let this stuff affect me. And as hard as you try to not let it affect you, it still does. For me anyway. So I'll keep searching for a way that I can deal with this sort of struggle in a way that doesn't affect me being a father or a husband. But so far it's been failure. It always seems to affect me in some way or another. And I hope I don't run out of time with them, being living at my house, before I figure out the answer to this sort of situation. I know in 10 years I'm going to wake up and they're going to be gone. It's going to be kind of strange and quiet. And I hope I will have figured out the difference by then.
As if I were to work rise with the sun.
We have our Vortex coil gonna be Nordyne coil, mobile home coil piston. Has an R22 piston instead of a TXV. So our new one's gonna have a TXV. You see the other one's kind of roached out all the way down the side of it, letting the remaining gas out of it. Indominus. And have our new door screw instead of putting duct tape on it, which was the old way, but that looked ugly. Door screw is slightly better. We have all the refrigerant recovered out of the machine. I brought some of my supplies around the corner for a little bit later. We got the vacuum pump, the vacuum hoses, micron gauge, and the nitrogen, so when I braze I can flow nitrogen. As soon as Tommy gets the old evaporator out, I'll set the new one in there and we'll get up to piping it up. We have our coil brazed in, braze joint here and down here toward the bottom, 3/4 going into 7/8, so I just swaged it out, put a 3/4 in. We got to put the TXV bulb right there. Went ahead and put the dryer in here since I was brazing only right here in this system, since an existing outdoor unit is out there. So we put the nitrogen test on it. And drum roll please. 149.5-ish. And we are at 149.4, which is just fine because it's been about 10 minutes already, so I'm happy with that. We're gonna put it into a vacuum, put a little bit of 407 in it, and then inject the oil. We got the vacuum running. We're gonna go ahead and cool the system down to the 5 nanocrons. Then we can put a little 407 in it while we're finishing up inside. Then add some POE oil. My daughter didn't believe me there was a bunch of jerk animals out here. Watch this. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Down to 674 microns. Going really slow. So we'll let her run for a while. Make sure she gets a nice cool vacuum on her. We'll top her off, see where she goes now. Not really going down. We'll see where she ends up after about a minute. We have the R407C hooked up here to the liquid line. We're going to put some liquid in. We have, let's see, 146 ounces. So we're going to put in just a little bit of that, then we're going to put our PAE oil in after that. Oil pump in the oil. We're going to draw it up. I'm going to just put just a little bit of it through, just to make sure some oil comes out of it. And then once the oil comes out, because we already got rid of the old stuff, I'm going to give it 2 full revolutions there. Each of them is about 3.5 ounces. Because I already put half of them in there. So that's it. In fact, we only have just a tad left, so we're going to go ahead and put a little bit that's left in there. And there we go. And that's it. That's all you have to do for that. We're using the ACD14 amp probe meter to check amperage. We have, I'm going to hit the little button here, so it measures it right from the tip, right up there. 10.35 amps at about 245 volts going into the machine electricity wise. We're at 7 pounds, 13 ounces, going up to around 9 pounds. Our pressures are real low, 128 and 52, just because it is so cold inside. We're just going to weigh in the charge for today and come back to finalize the charge and subcooling once the electrician wires up the Heil here next door. It's around 7:18 now, heading out to the soccer field to drop my son off for soccer practice. Head over to the gas station to get some gas, and over to Dollar General to get some groceries, paper towels, Coke Zeros, yada yada yada. The day ends like this a lot of the times. Kids have their events, whether it be soccer, baseball, or whatever they're up to, dance. And I end up doing little errands, trying to incorporate those into my outings so I don't lose too much time and efficiency and get to relax a little bit each day. That's the most important thing. Me and John were supposed to do a live sort of hangout last night, Wednesday night. By the time I got home from work and he got home from work and my back was killing me, and I texted him and said, let's just put it off for a day or so. And I think I granted his wish in his head because he went right to sleep, and I think I fell right asleep in my house, so good deal. I'm heading out this morning. It is Friday morning, 9:53, a little bit of a late start because I wanted to let it warm up a little bit, which it hasn't really yet anyway. Going over to R.A. Michael, we're going to pull and clean one of their evaporator coils, and if we have time, check out the upstairs system that does a little room where they meet and have classes and stuff like that. I've been going to this particular supply house since I first started in the trade. It wasn't R.A. Michael back then. R.A. Michael was across the street. This one was well, it wasn't Johnstone either. It was Johnstone for a little while, but it was Joiner's Supply before that. So ever since we first started coming up, we've been going to this place. So it's kind of funny to see these old Goodman units. I replaced one of these in, let's see, 2013. The upstairs one. It's an air temp now, so we'll see how it's doing as well. This is in the warehouse at R.A. Michael. I'm just taking the screws off of this lovely Goodman unit that's been there for about 15 years. And I'm going to check it over to see if there's any leaks, because it would be a real shame if I took the coil out and cleaned it, did a whole bunch of work only to find out that that sucker was leaking. We don't want that to happen. You can also admire my svelte frame from my dieting. Fat Zach from 2016 has left the building. Making sure I take out all the 450 screws Goodman puts in their equipment because it's so well put together. Oh, no. I could probably pull out half of them by hand. As you can see, there's a copper coil there. They were known to be leakers. I'm laughing because there's no heat kit in the machine either. Because, yes, my jumping there is because I'm going to try to figure out what blower speed we're on. Unfortunately, we're already on high. That's unfortunate because we hardly got any air through the machine previously. We had 1200 CFM on a 5-ton machine on the last time that I measured CFM. They were having issues with condensate runoff in the coil that would drip down. Now it's dirty, and if you have the improper airflow, it'll have issues as well. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a really detailed leak search, going across the entire coil to make sure that there are no issues with it. Because like I said, we don't want to take one out and do all this work to it for nothing. If you can imagine, the warehouse is right next to the showroom. Right on the other side of the air handler is the showroom. So you'll have all their tapes and supplies are in there, and this is sort of sitting out in the middle of the area where it'll sweat. We're pulling and cleaning this coil, and we're making sure it doesn't leak. If it leaks, why would we want to clean it? It didn't leak before, but it's been a little while.
It was a while. It was a while.
Yeah, it's been several months since last year. We'll check the pan for cracks. It didn't leak before. It looks like they didn't have the wiring for it. 5 tons for just the showroom is quite overkill. That was nothing, I think. Two different leak detectors on the truck. This is the better one of the two. So if you need a leak detector, you can get this one.
Better run.
That's the dude I was talking about. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
That's my gun.
Got the system off. I'm going to open this thing up so we can pump the system down. CPLE 10 seer 63 phase, 5 tons. There goes the contactor. So I'm going to take everything out. So we've sprayed the evaporator with little spray foam that I have in the aerosol can. I got to get some of the crap out of here. Down here, stuck. Got a little thermostat screwdriver.
Good stuff.
It's a little rusty junk.
Ooh,
So
yummy.
hopefully we'll get a little bit better airflow. It wasn't as dirty as I thought, so I'll be kind of curious how much air we get through the machine now. Here I am brazing the air handler back together. Pretty simple stuff. Usually you can have enough room where you can swage it with the Hillmore swager, then put everything back together, then braze it right up. It's a pretty simple task. I'm leaving the piston and everything in place on the outside of the air handler, just wrapping it with a wet rag because it only takes a few seconds to braze that 3/8 line. And I know from experience, as long as you do your job properly, it's not going to damage the piston or the Teflon ring. If you want to, you can of course unscrew that nut and take off the Teflon ring and the piston to be on the safe side, but I'm pretty confident about that. Now I wrap up all my service valves and things like that, but in this case I know it's not going to be a problem. We are with the filled piece SVG3, going down around 1600 microns. We're falling pretty well. Line set goes underground there and then comes up where the air handler's at, so it's kind of a funky line set, 7/8 or 3/8. So we'll let it run for a while because it'll probably bounce up and down for a little bit because there's likely some oil in that line too. But we'll go get the unit put back together on the inside and maybe check out the old air temp down there that I put in 2013. Put our air handler stuff back together. We're down to 148. I valved it off already and it settled out right around 750. So I'm gonna let it run for a few more minutes just while I'm getting ready. Then I'm gonna shut it off and let the refrigerant in. We'll turn everything back on and use our filled piece stuff to get our temperature split. Here's that K factor. What that means is this grill is what, 20 by 20? No, it's bar. It's like, we're looking at the grill.
25 by 20?
Yeah, something like that. 24 by 24, 25 by 25. We got to know the exact size.
I said 25 by 25.
God.
How would I say?
I'll go 24. I win. Okay. It was pretty close. You know what I'm saying? 24 by 24. 5-ton system needs 1,000 square inches of filter space. 24 by 24 is not there.
That's nowhere near.
Let's see. So we go to 24 by 24, 576. It's barely half. Okay, so that's pretty bad. So 576 square inches, and the K factor on this grill, meaning that amount of area that's blocked, is about 30% of it. So it's 0.7 of that, 70%. So I multiply that by 0.7, we get 403.2. So we'll plug in 400 into this anemometer, and we'll get the CFM that way. Now last time it was about 1,200.
That's like a 2-ton unit. 1-ton unit.
1,200 CFM is good for about 3 tons. So you can go out about 5 tons, it's far cry for. So hold down the mode button. Yeah.
And add or return.
It really should have an added return. Well, let me do that. I did 400 divided by 144 to get square feet. Alright, so we have divided by 44, 2.8 square feet. Yeah, if they had one in the warehouse or something like that, you could get a little bit of outside area that way. But you'd have to filter it on the other side too.
Yeah.
No big deal. Alright, we're going to go 2.8. Enter. It counts off 20 seconds before it starts. If it comes up to speed before then, I can hit record and go ahead and start doing it. Looks like it is. About 7 seconds on each one. Don't dive before we're done, Tom. 1378. So we're up about 200 CFM. Better. Do it one more time. Run through the same. We have 2.8 there. Hit enter. That starts the countdown. We were running about 344 feet per minute, which is good for a returning drill. It's not too elevated. Not up here anyway. It's higher at the bottom. Most airflow is coming out of the bottom of this grill. $12.98, so let's see, $12.98, it's a big enough difference. Let's do it again. Keeping in mind the airflow is going to go down as longer lasts. $13.26, right in the middle, so about $13.30, $13.40 is probably where it's going to be. There's a little bit of air being sucked through the cracks in the air handler stuff, so it's not quite that much. It's a little bit more than what we got right here. So at the maximum, 1,400. We have the Z-Connect hooked up to the air temp unit, 13 SEER. Have the clamps on, have the ambient temperature right here, so we can do the head pressure calculation. We're going to go upstairs on the second floor there and set up our field piece stuff, so we can see if this unit's running properly. Field piece, induct psychrometer head, and over here in the return, we have the little standalone psychrometer, and I'm looking at a split here starting to separate a little bit as it cools down. It's not really going that fast. I'm interested to see what it looks like when I get downstairs. I don't know, maybe that's just north. We have a 69-degree return. Now when you're trying to figure out what your pressure should be on the low side, You take 69 and subtract 35 for a normal matchup. That takes us down to 34 as far as saturation temperature. Our saturation is 31, it's a little bit lower than that. But as we run, these two might come together and be okay. So we have 57 there, it's only 12 degrees differential right now, so we'll see if that improves. But right now it looks like it's a tad low almost, but 70 degrees outside now. It's at 67 a second ago. Let's see. We shall see. We're looking in the microchannel here. Evaporator.
I wanted to check out this coil to make sure that it was not leaking, because guys in the community have had so many issues with these coils. Typically not on Nordyne units. It was other units. But I wanted to do it nonetheless, because this thing's been in there for about 4 years. It's running heat pump mode every winter, so it's been under high pressure. So I want to sort of do this as a scientific experiment. We're going to see if any leaks can be detected with the Detect Select, which is a good leak detector, just to prove or disprove the whole micro channels are all awful thing, which is still up for debate even today, because guys like John Israel and Steve Lab have had issues with their York units they put in the past.
For a second there.
I'm thinking that the leak detector found something, but I was wrong. There was nothing there. Just a false reading, so everything was good to go.
Well, I'm over here at the job that we fixed up the other day. It's our 407C. Let's see if the electricians have arrived. Drum roll, please, as the wind blows by. Oh, that feels lovely. Yep. Look at this. See, they did all this number, so it would be long enough so they didn't have to cut any off. What the fuck? Changed out the breaker. Good deal. Perfect. Maybe I'll go ahead and start her up and run her for a few minutes. Since we have our Ohio running. I'm sure it's going to be low on gas because it's got such a long run to make. We got the 407C Intertherm running. Oh yeah. Let them run and warm up that house a little bit, and maybe I can test things a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and hook up my true suction, but Sparky the asswipe has put his conduit right in front of here. Instead of taking, I assumed he was going to take a 90 and go across here, but he just wanted to use up all the conduit he could. The Z manifold on our 407C unit is 275 over just over about 55. So about normal for a warm day. We'll see if it climbs too much more. We'll have to recover a little bit out of it. So we shall see. Put a couple pounds of charge in the Heil unit here. The old Nordyne was good to go. Hope I put a little bit of caulk in that hole right there. And I'll be done with this job except for calling for the inspection, which hopefully goes swimmingly. It is Saturday morning, and good grief, listen to the birds in the trees. That is loud. A bunch of blackbirds up there. Good grief. I need to fire a gun up in a tree to get them out of here. They're loud. I'm at the daycare now. Just unloaded some of my supplies. 3 boxes of Flex. Actually, he bought all the boots they had in stock in that size just so I'd have them. 3 boxes of Flex for 8s and 1 for 4. We're going to do 1 classroom, make sure we get that done completely. Had the grills over there, plaster frames. So we're just going to try to finish up that area, set a goal for today. And if we do more than that, that'll be great. Depending on how the layout works, I'm going to try to put 1 centered in this particular area, 1 centered here. From the way the roof looks, probably 1 over here near the exit sign, maybe out in front of the exit sign, or even on this side wall, because I don't think we can get all the way over there. And the little bathroom, I'm going to hit a 4. Probably right inside the door, depending on where we can reach it. Anywhere from the door around this side, around to the back will be fine. There's a gable on this end, so we might be over here. So we'll see how that plays out, whether or not we can use, because I bought 5 boots, I bought everything we had in stock, so that's 3 10x6s and 1 10x4. So we'll see if I can't split a couple of the 8s into 1 box of Flex, and we can go ahead and insulate those other 2 as well. So we'll have to see.
What I'm doing here is I'm plotting a line in between that first header you see in the middle right side of the screen and the wall that's just to the left of the picture. I want to find center, so I can try to get all these boots centered on these little areas so it looks good. I'm making my measurements here. I'll measure to one side of the window, then I'll measure the other direction, see where center is at. Then I'll plot off the wall about 10-12 inches based on what I saw in the attic, because I want a rough idea where these joists are at in this old, because this is basically an old house that was retrofitted into a daycare. I want to make sure what I'm doing is correct. Here I am. I'm going to drill a hole up where I plotted it and stick a panduit tie there, keeping in mind that I've been up in the attic, so I've kind of looked to see what they have up there. I'm figuring out now that the drill is going through 2 layers, sheetrock and a layer of wood, which is going to complicate things because I had to cut that out with a Sawzall, and it's going to be a little bit more time consuming.
I have all my holes spotted. This one was just sheetrock. That was kind of nice, but all the other ones are wood and sheetrock, unfortunately, because this is an old house. This particular section of the daycare have some panduit stuck up through there. I went up in the attic initially just sort of get a lay of the land, so I knew sort of where I wanted to drill, so I just didn't make a whole bunch of holes for nothing. But you can sort of see that one. Well, can't really see it on the camera. That's the first one I did. There it is. So I'm gonna go up there and see how they look, and hopefully they're all fantastic, and I can go ahead and plot out these square register holes. This is the one that's up in the restroom. You can see the bath fan there, vented to nowhere. And that one looks like, you know, we got about 5 or 6 inches to the side, but I'll probably cheat it back an inch or so just to make sure it's more in the center. I can, it'll be just easier for me to do. Looks like there's some wood lath down there too, so we'll be, you can see that there for the sheetrock. They put little runners in for the sheetrock, so we'll have to see how we'll have to do that. It might be a little bit interesting. The other one, the 10x6 over there in the, right here, you see the panduit coming up. It's dead center of that base, so that worked out pretty well. Let's go ahead and check the other 2 out. It's got to be in here somewhere. Oh. There's that one, although it's got a stupid board in the way up here. I don't know what it is. It's not even nailed down or anything. So we can cut that one out. Had to get this stupid board out of the way there too. There's our other one right there. So interesting. We might not even need plaster frames for these. Well, if I fit them down, just nail them off. I'm gonna take the trusty Craft Tech skill saw. I've had the Craft Tech skill saw for about 10 years. It's the cheapest skill saw in the history of mankind, but it's been with me for a long time, so I love it. We're going to zip this board out here so there's room for the plaster frame so that boot sits flush. Because it would be nice to get the plaster frame in. I can just screw it down to this wood decking, then screw the grill up to it. Have like a sandwich seal. I'm going to do the same thing down there, just cut it off on either side. Some nice lighter wood right there, bud. This place catches on fire, she's gone.
Once I have everything plotted out where they're going to go, I can draw my 10x6 hole. When what I'll do is I'll plot off the wall 10-12 inches, then I'll mark the other sides. I'm marking both sides, and they're going to be 6.5 by 10.5, so the hole is a little bit larger than the actual boot, so the boot will fit really easy. I'll take my level and I'll draw the straight line on the front side, and then I'll switch over to the back side there and draw the back side straight line. I have a little side-to-side measurement there, but to get it straight I'll use a square, as you can see right there, just to make sure it's square instead of measuring off the wall, which probably isn't straight anyway, on the very ends. Plus measuring that far for that short distance, it's never going to turn out exactly right. So what I'll do now is I'll get my drill, I'll drill out some pilot holes on each corner where I can get my saw in there and cut through everything. Now the negative side to this is, you can use a few different kinds of saws. You can use a jigsaw too, which works just fine. But no matter what you use, it's going to spray stuff everywhere. And this is a little kid's daycare, so at the end you see I got a trash can right there. At the end I might do a lot of cleaning, which we did. We worked for 4 or 5 hours this day, then we had to clean up for an hour just to make sure it was the proper cleanliness for all the little kids coming in on Monday, because there's a little bit more a higher standard to cleaning there than cleaning just in a house where people might come up to you halfway through and go, I'll take care of that. There wasn't no one doing that here because no one was there. We had to make sure it was just as clean as they left it on Friday, which was pretty darn clean. Which is nice. I didn't have to change batteries, I don't think, today for the Ryobi, which is good because it does a pretty good job and they've been around for a while too. You can see that wire will go up there. All I had to do was move the staple out of the way, and I knew it was there, which is one of the things you have to be aware of so you don't cut through it with your saw.
We have our boots up, grills. We have 1, 2, 3 10x6s. And 1 10x4x4 for the little potty rail.
Email with your questions or requests. Please check out our website or the email addresses. Please hold the line.
Yes, ma'am. They usually call you about 30 minutes beforehand. That'd be great. I might be out of the area, so give me a little bit of time to meet him if I can. It is 910-789-4714. Yes, ma'am. There's a door lock on there. Just in case I'm not there yet, I can give you the, it's like a little real estate lock. It's 9399 is the code.
Is there anything inside the house?
No, it's an empty house.
Is the empty entrance? Because I know they won't go in. If there's anything in it.
Yes, ma'am. It's a foreclosure.
I've got the door lock pad on there for them. Okay?
I appreciate that, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All set up.